Hello, and welcome to my mini lecture presentation project. For this topic, I'm going to be talking about social media, how social media shapes identity. The target audience for this is college students and teens. I'm sure many of us have used social media, regardless if it's YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, what's that, Facebook, or Reddit, whatever it is. And it could be good. Social media can be good for connecting others, staying up with the news. If you're a sports fan, seeing your favorite team or seeing what's going on. But there's a lot deeper meaning behind it. It goes way further than we think. So, how does social media really affect us, especially for college students and teenagers? Definitely high school students for sure. Maybe middle schoolers that are starting to get into that social media field. And for this demonstration, I'm going to use my phone. Nothing here, nothing turned on. Just going to show some examples of what it looks like on a daily basis. So, introduction. Picture this. You wake up grabbing your phone, and even before you're fully awake, you're comparing your life to hundreds of people who seem to have their lives perfectly figured out. Their vacations, their bodies, their relationships. This is all before you even brushed your teeth. For today's teens, and I must say for a great number of us as well, this is normal for us. The thesis here is that social media has the power to influence the way youngsters view themselves, their interactions with others, and how they handle their feelings. So, just to show you the three concepts I'm going to be using are social comparison theory and impact on self concept, Erickson's identity versus role confusion, and the way online communities influence belonging, emotional regulation, and how being always connected impacts mental and emotional health. So, the first one is social media and adolescent self concept. The course concept for this is social comparison theory. First off, we have the social comparison theory, which basically means that people figure out who they really are by comparing their lives with others. Now, for social media, that around us turns into millions of people who are perfectly created and quite obviously well edited. Like that. One might as well believe the research could be true. Nessie and Prinstein, 2018, the research that led to an article in the Journal of Abnormal Child Psychology that says that teens who compare themselves socially or more frequently become often depressed to a higher extent, particularly when they compare themselves for better looking and more successful peers. Verbal citation. And this isn't just a piece of research that we talk about here, and there is. It's something that we always find in pulp culture as well. In the Euphoria series, Kat is forever comparing herself to influencers and perfect girls online. Her self-esteem goes up, down, depending on how much she shows up the internet. And honestly, just like majority of real teens who live this way. The second concept is online communities and belongings. The course concept is Erickson's identity versus role confusion. Social media is where it turns into a lab. Different styles, aesthetics, hobbies, values, whatever you can name it. Like that. As for the Pew Research Center 2023, 80% of teens has stated that social media supports their connection with friends, as understandably so. However, the 38% of those say that it makes them feel pressured to join the group, to be that place, to fit in. Thus, it places where you can delve into your identity and at the same time feel lost because of pressure to belong. Just consider the TikTok communities, the clean aesthetic, the clean girl aesthetic, and the gym grind. Anime fandoms, gaming groups, each one has a separate culture. Teens can get the feeling of being so very much accepted, but they also have to feel like they have to change completely who they are to become that group. This is the point where identity becomes really tricky. And the last concept is emotional development and constant connectivity. The course concept, emotional regulation. The final idea is emotional regulation, the capacity to handle emotions in beneficial ways. And to tell you the truth, a teenage emotionally regulating problem is already hard here because the potential cortex is still maturing. Brains are not fully developed yet. They're still entering that stage. That's why the teenage years, it's the toughest years. So just imagine adding social media to this. Likes, notifications, streaks, messages. You see in Snapchat, right? Snap streak. Yeah, that's what that is. They're becoming micro hints of validation. Like that. Once again. Therefore, feelings become volatile following digital feedback. Posts that receive likes may make users satisfied, whereas others who don't get as many likes, they may feel, or no attention, they feel dissatisfied. They may not feel great about themselves. Like, hey, why is this person getting so many likes for just posting this? But when I'm posting this, I don't get as many likes. I don't get as many attention. It's just like that. And it also affects the confidence of who they are. Sometimes they feel like they have to now completely change. Sometimes they don't feel good going forward. There's even a TikTok trend named the photo dump, by which people casually share a lot of photos without effort. Ever seen social media where you see someone who just puts photos for the entire month, vacations, they seem to have really good lives. They seem to, have all that while you're just sitting home. You can't afford the stuff. You just wish that you could have that, right? Sometimes perception is reality, though. Sometimes it's not always what you see. It's about perception. Now, yes, some of these pictures are true, but others, something called editing, right? Photoshop. So that's why you can't always trust what you see on social media. It leads to having emotional highs and lows depending on how one presents themselves and whether one gets social approval. So why does this matter for college students? So why should you care about this? Although we might be older than high school students, we cannot pretend that we do not share the same online world. Understanding how these concepts work gives us the power to develop better digital habits, limits, comparison, help younger brothers, sisters, cousins, and students, or the teens that we work with notice when the internet is affecting our mental health. These these notions are not only concepts, but also the tools which we can handle the social media impact on our self-esteem, sense of belonging, and feelings. So, to wrap things up here, the main points we talked through these are three ideas: social comparison, the use of social media, and self-concept, as explained by Erickson's theory, identity theory. Development of emotional regulation due to being constantly connected. And the final thought is that the internet is a major force in shaping you, whether you are a teenager of 13 years or young adult of 25 years. But by simply noticing these trends, we can create our own ways of acting in the virtual world, and thus be a support to the teens who are growing up, whoever connected the world. So basically, the main thing social media is perception is reality, changing your whole personality, trying to fit in the group, and then just like comparisons. Those are the main things that we constantly face whatever on social media. And here are the references that I used for this project. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you all learned something really new. And hopefully that this topic helps shape your perspective on social media. When it's a good thing, when it's bad, sometimes you need to take a step back and all that.